I've never really had any balance. And so for me, whenever I've lost or, had setbacks, zero balance. I would be miserable to be around. And I think that's also partly what drives you and, what has made me, where I've had success, but it hasn't been where I don't think success has ever softened me. It's made me want it more.
So for one, I want to start off by acknowledging, obviously you have three gentlemen here from the beautiful state of Illinois. Andre, were you part of 03 class?
Oh, two.
Oh, two.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Damn.
And,
you just call me old.
No, you're not old at all. You're just getting better and better with time. Myself, I'm from the 07 class, and this next gentleman we have here who is a Chicago legend, a national champion, and, obviously Duke's new men's basketball coach, Jon Scheyer. He's a member of the 06 Illinois basketball class and one of my favorite players to compete against and watch growing up. So, Jon, thanks for joining today.
Thanks so much for having me. It's, Illinois, we have people from everywhere down here. So I'm always bragging about Illinois, Chicago, Springfield. All right, Springfield, but Illinois and Chicago. So it's great to be with both of you. Obviously, been big fans of both of you guys and what you've done and who you've been as people for a long time. So thank you.
Appreciate it.
Well, we knew a lot of people are coming up to you about discussing the coaching and, Duke and what's coming up. But we kind of want to talk to you more as a player. As I said prior to, you're one of the best players to ever come out of Illinois. You're a top 5 bucket getter coming out of Chicago and those areas. Can you take us back to your beginning, how you ended up here prior to being a Duke coach and being an NCAA champion and, take us from the beginning?
I think for me, it started with having a great appreciation for the history of just the game, period. But also starting with, my goals didn't start with, just playing in junior high. I mean, when you're a kid in Chicago in the 90s, you grow up watching the Bulls and all you see is winning. Like you get accustomed to it.
Yeah.
And so for me then, just getting outside of my comfort zone, I think was a big thing growing up, going to different places, different areas, watching different players. I mean, I remember watching Dre. I remember watching you downstate, playing. I remember watching, a guy, Matt Loddick, from New Trier, went to Stanford. He was, I was always studying Matt and what he would do. I would, watch, clips of, I had an old cassette tape, right? That's what we all grew up with, right? Where you're watching video cassette of Farragut and Thornton downstate. And I still have it to this day of, watching, Ty Streets and Ronnie Fields and Kevin Garnett. And so for me, it started there with that passion of wanting to do something special in high school. And then obviously you had to, get outside and get different kinds of competition outside of just where I'm from in Northbrook.
Let's take it back to a place and you and I were alumni of the Illinois Warriors. And I don't know if you remember Peach Jam.
I was going to ask you if you remember Peach Jam.
Of course I remember. It was Peach Jam. It was you. It was Julian Wright. E.T., what's my guy's name from Proviso that went to
Shannon Brown.
Kansas State?
Kansas State. Jake Pullen.
Yeah.
Just take us back to what it was like playing against, some of the, best players in Illinois basketball history. A lot of people don't understand. Like you just said, you watched me play downstate. I remember 8th grade, I was watching Quentin Richardson play downstate when he was with Whitney Young. And just kind of the lineage that came from, he was with the Illinois Warriors as well. Darius Miles, it's just so much tradition behind that. Like what kind of drew you to playing with, that group? Because I think Matt Loddick played with the Warriors too, right? Illinois Warriors.
He did. Yep, that's right. He did. And I think around, I don't know, probably around my time, there started to be a bunch of other teams, but Warriors had always been the dominant team in Chicago, right? And I don't know if you remember, but you gave our team a pep talk. Actually, we ended up winning the whole thing that year. The team that you're talking about. So
I was jealous of y'all.
I don't know why you're down there.
LB had me down there. It was a big thing when you got a AAU squad that was led by Nike, and then you had one of your pros show up to the tournament. So I think that was more Larry letting the Nike execs know how powerful he was at the time. You know how it goes.
Sounds about right. That sounds about right. So LB, like for me, he's one of the most important people that I've come across in my life. Like it's funny. I don't know about for you guys, but for me, looking back on some of the decisions you make when you're 14 years old, 17 years old when I committed to Duke, along the way, it leads you to, like I want to be here. Honestly, I don't feel I would be in this position if I didn't make the decision when I was 15 to play with the Warriors. Mm-hmm. And I'll never forget my first time playing with them. Actually, I wasn't 15. I was 14, I think. I take that back. I was 15. After it was my freshman year going into my sophomore year. And the first AAU tournament, I show up and LB's having a meeting in the hotel room. I didn't even know about it. LB is a lot of things. The most organized isn't one of them. And so I walk
Sounds
into
like
the meeting.
AAU.
Exactly. I walk into the meeting. I'm wearing Adidas shoes. Like I didn't know any better. I'm wearing Adidas shoes. And I walk in and LB looks down. He said, "You're late and take off your damn shoes." And so he made me sit in the meeting with no shoes on. Everybody else is looking at me. That was my first introduction. But he gave me the great opportunity of playing up as a freshman at Peace Champ. And there's the first time a lot of coaches saw me, but Coach K in particular, we played the New York Gauchos, and he put me in the game. I got a couple of steals, made a few plays, and that's when I was, I think, on the radar. And, that's when I think the rest is history from really that moment on.
I was wondering what your mindset was like from the get-go, because one thing that you did that I've noticed from the day one was you dominated for 4 straight years. And during that time in Illinois basketball, some of the best players to ever, come out of there. You had Derrick Rose that was a year younger than you. You had, Sharon Collins. You had a lot of Division I talent coming around, but you were able to stay at the top of the mountain for 4 years. What was your mindset daily? Like, how did you go into that to attack? Because you weren't the strongest, although you had height and IQ. Literally going up against Chicago competition coming from Northbrook wasn't the most ideal. So how'd you go about that?
I just think for me, Evan, it was always wanting to prove. I never felt satisfied. It was, every day I wanted to show that I could play with anybody, and I always had a passion to win. I didn't play for numbers. I didn't play for points, although, I did score a lot in high school, but for me, it was about winning. And, I also knew that you mentioned some of those players, the competition. I played against some of those guys since real young. You're 06 and 07 are two of the great classes to come out of Illinois. There's no doubt in my mind. It's deep. I mean, Dre mentioned Jacob Poulin in your class, and St. Joe's teams that you guys had. And the last high school game I ever played was against Derrick Rose. They beat us in the Elite Eight my senior year. But for me, I think the best. I tell this to our players now, but I think one of the best compliments you can give a player is that every day they show up. You know what you're going to get every day. You may not make the most shots. You may not, play your best all the time. But if you bring your best and compete every day, like that's a guy that I would want to lace my shoes up with. And for me, that's who I try to be as a player.
Well, I think everyone knows a lot about your storied career at Duke. Once you're at Duke, you're pretty much on a big stage. And I guess the question I have concerning your college career, and I've never known this because I've never played at Duke. I played at Arizona, which is a storied college basketball program. But, Duke is the epitome of college basketball, especially over, since Coach K's career there. Mm-hmm. So the last 30, 40 years. And just explain to me, like, what that pressure was like, having to live up to those expectations night in, night out. And for 4 years, at a time where guys are in and out. So you got 4 years of that pressure.
It was interesting to go through. My freshman year was, I think at other places it would be a good season. We were 22-11, but we had 2 4-game losing streaks my freshman year. And so, imagine, we've had a couple times we've lost 2 in a row. It feels like the world is ending.
Right.
Losing 4 in a row twice that season was a tough thing to go through. And you realize very quickly, look, people are watching. which is a great thing. But so when you win, you can get some really good praise, and that's cool. But when you lose, you're going to hear about it.
Yep.
And so for me, I'd rather be in that position as opposed to people not caring. But you have to be thick-skinned. You have to stay really determined. Continue to move forward. And for me, I had 4 years where really each year we took a step forward. Lost in the first round my NCAA my freshman year, sophomore year Sweet 16. Sorry, sophomore year second round. Junior year Sweet 16, we lose to Villanova, who went to the Final Four.
Yeah.
And then we won the whole thing my senior year. But now, I think for me as a coach, you try to navigate those 4 years in one. You have to go through those ups and downs where you're ready now, and tougher when it comes March and April.
Yeah. So during that time, those 4 years at Duke, you obviously played under Coach K, and then you're able to go and coach under him. So you had a hell of a mentor. But now, tender age of 35, you're going from being led to being in charge. How do you feel about that?
Man, that's I feel a lot of ways about it. Yeah, I feel a lot of ways.
Yeah.
When I initially got the call from our athletic director, Nita King, it was, and I have no problem saying this. I don't care, other people that have called me, but it was the best call I've ever received. And, it's exciting. It's humbling. You feel incredibly grateful, but also you feel a great deal of responsibility to carry this thing forward the right way and continue the tradition and excellence that's, come before and what Coach K has done. So, for me, I think I try to take it one day at a time, try to stay present, focus on, the here and now, not try to not try to listen to too many voices, if that makes sense. Just try to stay focused on what we have to do. And, I got some really good advice from a good friend of mine the first week I got the job. And he told me, you're going to want to do a million things because, running a program now, there's so much that's involved with it. Focus on one thing. Get really good players. And so for me, that's really the first, year before I became head coach officially. That was my focus. And I'm really proud of the group that we have. We have, a different collection of talent with young and more experienced, but they work their asses off. And I don't know if you guys
all the time.
All right, I'm just making. I don't know what kind of podcast.
Oh no, we
say
some other stuff, so don't worry.
All right, I'm just checking. I'm just checking. I'll probably get in trouble for that, but that's all right. But and they're ready to be coached and they're ready to work. So for me, that's been the most exciting part, to be alongside these guys as we go into this season.
You're talking about recruiting, and before you became head coach, you were a number one recruiter, and I see you threw a wrench in the plans, and you hired my guy Jay Lucas, and that's the son of former NBA great John Lucas. But typically, all the assistant coaches and everything were typically former Duke players. So, what made you go about that and kind of switch it up a bit?
Yeah, I think for me, every decision I've made, you try to balance two things. You try to balance, one, the history of our program, and continuing the things that what you guys may identify as Duke basketball. I want to continue to carry those things forward with how hard we play, or that it is bigger than basketball here. There are some things that are really important. Also, at the same time, being innovative and making decisions based on what's best for here and now, and especially what college basketball is in 2022. And so for me, we had, assistant coaching role to fill. And Jay and I had a couple of conversations, and, very quickly, I realized he was the best person for the job. His blend of experience. Also, he's still not too far removed from playing, and he was, a great player. He talks that he peaked at age 17. At 17, he was really good.
Yeah.
And still really good at 22, but he was big time at 17. And look, because of his dad and brother, he's been around the game his whole life. Mm-hmm. So knowing the highest of levels, and he's coached, for three great coaches at great school, Kentucky, Texas. So his experience, his personality has been huge for me. We've developed a really close bond in this short time that he's been here so far.
All right, enough of these toss-up questions. I've been knowing you since you were a baby. You're like a grown ass man now, right? Like this is like
I think so.
I think you understand like the situation you're in and the magnitude of it. So I think that's just beautiful in itself, and like you have that appreciation for the game, the way you approach the game, and in this new day and age of recruiting players, and I'm trying to figure this out myself. How do you build something very special with college basketball and the alumni and the student athlete that you bring there, with kids being able to transfer every year, or with the recruiting landscape has changed, NIL, the whole thing's just changed. So how do you still go about carrying tradition in that respect?
It's no, it's an incredible question, and one that I've thought a lot about, because you can get swept up in what you read in the news or what you think, is being done out there. And for me, I think at the end of the day, it still starts and ends with relationships,
Hmm.
and you guys know me for some time, but anybody that's known me, I've never tried to be anybody other than myself. And I think it's really important that that doesn't change now. I can't try to be Coach K. Can't try to be somebody else that I'm a head coach. Like, I'm just going to be real, whatever that means. People have asked me, what's my coaching style going to be? You're going to stand or you're going to sit. And for me, I'm going to do what I feel.
Right,
I don't know
right.
what it's going to be, but I'm just always going to keep it real, be honest. And of course, I think you guys tell me if I'm wrong, but as a player, you want to know that your coach cares.
Mhm.
And so in recruiting, we're all about relationships. We don't recruit a mass, so it's not like we're going to offer, three wings and say the first guy to come will take them. We try to pinpoint who we're going after,
Mhm.
and then go after them with everything we have. And for the most part, that's worked out great for us. I don't see that changing anytime soon. And no matter what the rules are, there's so many changes in the rules with, who knows, with the NBA and the age limit, and who knows with obviously you have other professional leagues that players can go. I still feel like there's the right fit for Duke and what that kid, what that person, family is about, and we'll continue to go after them with everything we have.
For sure.
So, John, also too, I was wondering, as a coach, and being part of Duke, and I've known you for years, and I have a Justin Bieber view of you because you've been a rock star that long. I was wondering, during that time, has there ever been a point where you feel like you suffered from success, or it's become too much for you, or you felt stressed from going on being a basketball player and living up to all that pressure to entering your pro career and it not necessarily going the way you wanted it to go, to coming back and being on the staff?
Well, absolutely, there's been struggles along the way, 100%. I think it's more bouncing back from the failures, that I've had. I've had a lot of them. I mean, we talked about Illinois in high school. My freshman year, we were playing Thornwood, and we went furthest, the furthest we've ever gone in our school history. We're playing the state semifinals. We're winning, uh, and Eric Gray for Thornwood hits a three in my face. We're up two with about 9 seconds to go. And we're, not 10 seconds away from playing Peoria Central and
John
Sean
Livingston.
Livingston in the state finals. And, I'm thinking, shoot, I was partly excited and partly a little nervous out of guard Sean.
Yeah.
we were, but you're already thinking that way. And I missed the game winner. And so on the Chicago Tribune the next day, there's a picture of Thornwood celebrating, and I'm on the ground, crying. And I've never really had any balance. And so for me, whenever I've lost or had setbacks, zero balance. I would be miserable to be around, and I think that's also partly what drives you, and what has made me, where I've had success, but it hasn't been where I don't think success has ever softened me. Has made me want it more. And I know I'm going on and on, but I'll just say one more thing. For me, the toughest experience I've ever had was going undrafted.
Mm.
We won national championship. I led our team in scoring and assists, and felt like it was there's a really good role that I could carve out. And I got mono during the pre-draft process. I was skinny to begin with. I lost about 15 pounds, which wasn't ideal. And that moment right there was, I think, really defining for me going forward, just with driving me, whatever path I followed. Those are tough moments right there.
Yeah. I think I remember one thing that really showed me your drive, because I was telling Dre prior to. I think it was 06 at the Proviso West tournament, the legendary 21 points in 75 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
I remember you filed out. Bogus call. You guys were about to come back.
It was. No, you said it, not me. No,
it was
you
a
said
bogus
it.
call.
Look it up on YouTube. It was.
Yeah, it was a bogus call. And I remember he had 21 points in a minute and 15 seconds, and he filed out. And I remember you didn't throw a tantrum, but I remember the fact that losing was damn near about to kill you. Like, no, I'm being serious though. Like, it literally he literally didn't care about like his perception or not. Like, only winning mattered, and he literally flipped out. And every 4-letter word you probably could have said, you did. And I remember being like, "Yo, this dude is a real life killer. He's a real life competitor. Don't let that pretty boy stuff fool you. Like, he's a real life competitor, and he really wants to win bad." And I remember sitting there and leaving that game and kind of being like, damn, like, what did I just see? Like, and I always appreciate that about you, and I always was never shocked in what you did moving forward. So definitely giving you my flowers, my snaps.
No, I appreciate it. It wasn't, MVP in the finals or, what you did in the tournament or anything like that. For me, it was always about winning. And that was one of the most heartbreaking losses I've had. We had won, I want to say 35 games in a row.
Yeah.
Our school dating back to the year before, because we won 24 in a row to win it my junior year. Then we started off the season number 1, and St. Joe's Dre was like 7 or 8. They were down the line, from where we were at that time.
I was in the stands waiting for you in the next round for the West tournament. The king was about to get slayed.
That's fair. That's fair.
Know that.
But and so for me, it's talk about history, and I remember going on like IHSA, which is the Illinois High School, association, and they have records. And so, for most consecutive wins, like I wanted to make a run where you could win 50 in a row or something. And the Proviso West got us that day. I was a mess after that one.
But let's dive into that. When was your first memory of competition where you knew you just hated losing? Or when were you aware that you were different and that you didn't like losing?
I don't know if it ever felt different. To me, it just felt like it was like that's how it's supposed to be. You know, and I have, my friends have stories when I was, 6, 7, 8 years old, where I'd be just a complete prick, just if we were to lose. And there's individually, it could be playing video games where, I broke my friend's controller one time. He beat me in video games. He started to stall in NBA Live. Who stalls, in NBA Live? Like, you have to play it out.
No. Time out. I did read you used to change the settings and you was double teaming guys. You was setting up traps. You had all types of stuff going on in the settings of the game.
That's different than stalling. That's strategy, Dre. That's strategy. It's not. That's stalling. But ever since I can remember, I just always had. I figured a way to rein it in, but I think it's better to have that and then to try to teach that or to teach someone how to be competitive. So, but ever since I can remember.
But they call that sore losing, and I kind of want to touch on that. Like sometimes the analytics miss out on certain traits, and I think there's a positive side to someone who hates losing, because I was told I was a sore loser when I was a kid. Like, you just hate losing. Like, no one can be around you when you lose. But now when we're sitting where we're sitting, I think that's the drive you need for success. Is I can't lose. And so how do you differentiate a sore loser versus a guy who hates to lose?
I think a sore loser makes excuses of why you lost. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you hate to lose, you look yourself in the mirror. You're not looking out and making excuses. You're looking at yourself, what you could have done better. Mm-hmm. And I don't think, there were times when I was young, I definitely I think we all make excuses to a certain extent, right? But I think I did learn over time that to look in the mirror and to figure out what I could have done better. And I think that's the difference for me. I don't know what you would say about that, but I really do. I think it's hating to lose. And I'll add one more thing. You could beat me 5 times in a row. I still felt like I was going to beat you the 6th time. Whether that's true or not, in my mind, that's just how I was wired. So the losses would add up to determination for me. But why would people call you a sore loser?
Oh, I couldn't stand losing, and so I didn't want to talk. I didn't want to be around anybody. You know, and I agree with that excuse part, because the excuse was if you would have passed me the ball more, I would have had more points. But like, I think you're
that
right.
Could have been true. That could have been true also.
No, I was a big time scorer in 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th grade. I think we all were, and I think that was just more of being a kid, being 9, 10, 11 years old. You looking up to your idols, obviously Michael Jordan, and you see him going after his teammates. And so we're the best player in our team. So we feel like we can do the same, having no idea what a true leadership means. But at the same time, I think that's a part of the game that's been missing. I just saw John Lucas III was working some kids out, and they were doing drill work. And he was saying, I'm sick and tired of you kids doing, like, you do your drill workouts while you're playing. It doesn't work like that. The game of basketball is off instincts. And I think that's why there are a lot of great basketball players from the Midwest. You got Ohio. We got Ryan Ryan's a rookie from Detroit, Illinois, Indiana. It's just kind of like basketball havens, because we have a lot of experience with the game of basketball, and it's not drilled, where there's just instincts and there's experience involved, and going through being called a sore loser and growing through that. And I just think we got to get back to that, because John Lucas was saying, you kids don't play enough basketball. Like, everything's a drill. You're Euroing for no apparent reason when you just came to a jump stop and got to where you're supposed to get to. And ET's game, essentially an efficient style of basketball. Am I right, ET?
Shit. Depends. I shoot mid range. That's not efficient no more.
To them.
To that.
What would your game be like if you're coming through now? Would it be? What do you think it would be different?
I would add maybe a little bit, maybe shoot a 3, but like, bro, no. I like I would hoop how I would hoop. Like, if my shot wasn't going in from the 3 over 37%, I'm not shooting it. If my teammate wasn't shooting over 37%, I'd be like, bro, don't shoot the ball. You jagging it for us.
But so, don't you think you'd be like you would be drilling or working out differently?
Yeah, I would be shooting. I would just shoot threes more. Bro, I had everything but a 3-point shot. So, like, let's not ask whatever else it is. It's like, had it all. Okay. So, I mean, if I had a 3-point shot, I would just shoot 10 threes a game.
So where's our game going, Coach?
Yeah, talk to Coach. He would know.
Like, where's our game going? Are we going to get that big back like the Elton Brand or the Carlos Boozer or Shane Battier shot the ball really well in the league. So, but he was taking charges. You had to have people don't know how good Christian Laettner was. I have this, I always have these funny things with, speaking about white basketball players. Christian Laettner was really, really good. And I don't think people understood that, but, he was an ultimate winner as well. So how do you get guys to, like, a big man, will that position ever come back?
I don't think so. I'll tell you why. Can I tell you why?
Yeah.
Let me tell you why. Because the way kids work out now, nobody works out without shooting threes and handling the ball. It's just the world that we're in now. So now, like, I bet if you had Shaq coming through, I bet he'd be working on handling more and shooting occasionally. Yep. I just think it's the game has evolved. I don't think that it means we're not going to have a dominant big where they're not going inside. I mean, I know that happens still with some guys in the league, but I see what's coming through the next few years, and it's more than just scoring in the post. Like, it's bigs that are shooting threes, handling, and I think it's also changed the way that we play defense here.
Yeah.
You know, we used to pressure and, you know, we used to pressure so much to make fours and fives handle. But now there's 5 guys on the floor that can pass and shoot threes and that are skilled. So it's, what do you think? You think it's changing?
I mean, I hope it goes back somewhat, because I also think get the best shot you can get. Now, you want the most efficient analytical shot at times, or I think the first 3 quarters. But when you get to the NBA Finals, you got to get the best shot available. You know, Steph Curry is just a different beast, and you know how the game rides in waves, and you get 2 of the greatest shooters of all time ended up on the same team, and everybody's trying to copy that model. So I just think it takes for one player to come through and just completely change the game. I mean, I like Luka, I like Jason Tatum, and those guys can get to the paint and score whenever as well. So I think you still need that balance.
Just to clarify, I'm not saying up here saying don't shoot mid-range shots. I would never say that.
You can say whatever. I'm not tripping. Like, you got the job, rock out, man. Go with the blue buck.
But I'm just saying, if we were fortunate to coach you, I would tell you got to shoot threes.
Yeah, for sure.
In addition to everything you're doing. Yeah,
I had to change my game to stick around as long as I've stuck around. You know, when I first got to the league, it was frowned upon to shoot threes, especially as an athletic guy. And I never understood. Like, I was a big fan of Vince. I was a big fan of MJ and, you know, very athletic players. But if you could jump over people, you were told just jump over people, stop shooting threes. So it was actually the opposite. Like, don't shoot threes. And so I had to, you know, over time, you know, you got to shoot the ball a lot. It ends up at the point. He spoke about it on the pod. He's worked me out before, and I was naturally a ball handler. I can get to my spots, and this was what 2-3 years ago. ET, and I couldn't get.
Yeah, I remember sitting there and like, it's a damn shame that the game's changed so much. You're a beautiful pull-up shooter, and now you have no coordination.
I couldn't pull up.
He couldn't even stop and pull up. And I'm like, I said, you went your whole life working on this, and there's not enough time to even fix it. We got to hope it goes in because you just lost that coordination because all you done is shoot threes, which is perfectly fine.
It's crazy the way that the game has changed and how we're taught. I wish I was asked to jump over people. No coach I ever played for asked me to jump over anybody. So you should be happy they told you to say that, to do that.
Until you get to be 39 and you wake up in the morning and you got to crawl out of bed, literally,
and then walk around your 12,000 square foot crib, and then go over to your extra house where your built-in golf simulator is. Look at your 4 rings. Go outside your gated community where people are like,
I feel bad for you.
Yeah, and then walk past your Ferrari that you don't drive and you haven't drove in a year because you're embarrassed. You know,
no, it's art. It's art.
It's art. Okay, for sure. Well, shoot, Jon, we appreciate you, bro. We appreciate you coming on, giving us your time, and you know, setting a standard for former players. What you're doing is unbelievable. It's magnificent, and you know, to see where it started off and the story started, I'm just glad you didn't end up on drugs.
Listen. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. And just from me, you know, I'll let you finish. Seeing you play in high school. You know, seeing your career develop. To be honest, like, I never understood, like, you know, certain guys, you can't get what's to their game. Like, we got a kid on our team with the Warriors now, Anthony Lamb. And when you first look at him, he doesn't look like an NBA player. But when he's on the floor, winning things just always happen. And you were one of the first players because I'm still young watching you play. I know I'm older than you, but I'm young in assessing talent. And to see you play, you know, that's that trait that doesn't show up in analytics as well. And it's just that winning trait. So, you know, just thank you for helping me see that. Want you to have a lot of success, you know, coming from Illinois, and then, you know, having the job that you have, taking over that position is a big shoe to fill. I know you understand that, but I think you're well suited for it. And it's very rare that I get excited when I hear certain news. And I was truly excited when I heard you got the head coaching job. So congrats again.
Me so much. Honestly, great to be with you both, and room for you guys. You guys have been watch you for a long time, Dre, Evan, known you for a long time, both of you guys. And thanks again for having me. This has been great.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
Right. And John, keep hitting the weights, baby. I saw you last year. You put on a little bit of weight. Try to get to 215.
I'm trying,
right?
man. I'm trying to get to 200 still, man. It's hard to get there for me.
No, when I
yeah, it's hard to get there.